Here in front of me, I have a box, and this is a company that has never sent me a box before, and they just sent me a box. Today we're gonna get into what is inside this box and what is Heron watches. If you're like me, you may have never heard of Heron watches up until very recently. Heron watches is a watch company based out of Canada that focuses its design and all of its aspects of its company to things related to Canada, such as outdoorsy, toughness, robustness. They also say that you get what you pay for with this company, meaning they're not going to upcharge you for a brand name. You kind of just get what you pay for with this brand. Heron Watches DM'd me on Instagram and asked if I wanted to spend some time with this in front of me. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hey. Here in front of me, I have the Heron Marinor Ghost. As you can tell, this is obviously a dive-inspired watch with the Ghost branding showing that it is kind of empty of things. As you can see, there's no logo, there's no dial text, there's no numbers, there's nothing even on the bezel. Everything is blank. I'll talk about my thoughts on that a little bit later, but let's get into some of the first basic specs on this watch. So this watch comes in with a case size of 39 millimeters. The lug to lug is 47 millimeters, so it wears well on my 6.5-inch wrist. The lug distance is 20 millimeters, so it will accompany basically any straps that you may already have for it. And it comes in with a thickness of 11.3 millimeters, which for a dive watch is actually pretty reasonably thin. That's thanks to the movement on the inside. This has the Miyota 9039. If you remember from my previous videos, like almost a year ago on the Smith's Everest PRS 25, that watch had that exact same movement and that watch was really thin. This is a very simple, basic time-only watch. It has a power reserve of roughly 42 hours and it beats at 4 hertz or 28,800 vibrations per hour. This watch is made of stainless steel and it actually has a extra hardened scratch-resistant coating on it, bringing it up to 1200 Vickers on the hardness scale. I spent a little bit of time with this watch and I literally can't, I'm looking at it right now and I cannot see any scratches that I have caused, especially on the clasp, which for me is where I scratch watches the most. So this coating definitely works. Also, you've never seen me in glasses before. Hopefully this is this watch, being that it is dive related, it actually can handle it and it is water resistant to 300 meters and it has a screw down crown. The bracelet on this watch is very similar to a flat link bracelet you may find from brands like Omega, for example. However, this bracelet is entirely brushed. The links are solid and they are adjusted with screws. And there's also a micro adjustment on the clasp. So having spent some time with this watch, what are my thoughts? My first impressions out of the box is I super like the pictures of it online, and I feel that the finishing and the quality and the way it feels in hands is similar to what I saw online. This watch comes in at $590, and I think for that price and for the specs you get, I think that's a totally fair price to charge. The specs on paper of this watch are really good. Honestly, it's not Swiss made, so if you're someone who needs to have a Swiss made movement, you're not going to get that here. But if you just care about a simple designed watch with good finishing, you will absolutely find that this has that for the price. Spending some time with it, there's a few things that I like and a few things that I dislike. I think dive watches are, and have been for a while, one of my favorite genres of watches. At the moment, I'm currently wearing my Omega Seamaster, but this watch being 39 millimeters for a dive watch, I think this wears extremely comfortably. You can put this on the wrist and kind of just forget that it's even there. And with it having no anything in terms of words or anything on the dial, it kind of just blends in and is like literally just a watch. But you can rest assured knowing that you can take it with you wherever you want to go. The specs back that up. I am kind of super nitpicky with my watch finishings in what I deem as good or bad. And when I deep dive into this watch and take a glance, I think the finishing is absolutely worth it for the price. There's only one specific area that I think is a little bit interesting, and it is the area on the case right before the crown guards. It looks as if it is bead blasted, whereas the other two facets near it are brushed. And so it is kind of a little bit confusing to me, and it doesn't look bad, it's just a little bit confusing. The bezel also has some brushing on it, and since there's no numbers, it's just kind of a big reflective-y, brushy type surface. And when you look at it in the light, it plays with the light. Everyone in the watch world's favorite phrase. Super cool. The lume on the dial, it's marketed as Swiss-made SBG M or 9 or some type of number. I'll put it exactly what it is on the screen. And the lume on the hands and on the bezel pip are actually really good. However, the lume that is on the dial does not live up to the same lume that is on the hands. If you can see by this shot, you can tell that the dial, so the indices, the lume on that fades so much faster than the hands do. In really dark conditions though, you can kind of tilt the light and get the polished hands to reflect off of the light source. And so in certain lighting conditions, you can still get a good look at what the time is in various lighting conditions, but in pitch black, the indices lume is not as good as the hands. To me, this is kind of the point of what this watch is, and that is to be called the Ghost. But for me personally, I'm actually not a huge fan of it. I feel that having absolutely no text whatsoever, to me makes this feel kind of like it's a sample product. Kind of like it's still in its testing phase, and it has nothing to do with the quality of this watch, it's just like a personal preference. It's just the way that it makes me feel. Heron makes a few other options of this watch. They actually have two lines. They have the Gladiator series and they have the Mariner series. And some of the Mariners are like a standard watch with dial text and numbers. I actually gravitate more towards those versions over this one, but this was just the example that I got sent. Another really particular gripe that I had was more an error possibly that I got. In the box, you are given a tool, and the tool is just a screwdriver for the bracelet. But the bracelet didn't actually fit into the links, and I had to use one of my own screwdrivers in order to adjust the bracelet. So I'm not sure if this is across the board for all Heron watches, but at least in the example that I was given, the screwdriver did not work with the links that I got. To be completely honest with you, I think my actual favorite part of this whole thing is the box and the case that it comes in. It comes in this very interesting and unique box that has a pillow with two little wraparound 90-degree angles and a snap closure. I think this is a phenomenal watch box at honestly any price point. I also apologize, the sun is not helping me out in my favor with the lighting today. Overall, I feel like if you like the design of this watch, maybe you like some of the designs of the other watches they have, the quality for the price is absolutely on par. Once again, full disclosure, Heron Watches did send me this watch. I don't get to keep it, I have to send it back, and there is no exchange of money, or they didn't tell me what to say. They literally just said, hey, do you want to get some content of our watch? And you know, for me, the answer is almost always going to be a yes. What do you guys think of the Heron Marinor Ghost? Let me know in your comments down below. I'm interested to see your guys' thoughts on this watch. And would you buy it? Would you maybe have something else in mind to buy? I'm curious. Let me know below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all you who stick to the end. You guys are going to get a A+ today. Good job. Peace out.